Look at you. Yeah. Look at what happens when the version of you they trained, manipulated, softened, guilt-tripped, and emotionally handcuffed finally dies. Now everybody is uncomfortable. Now everybody's got something to say. Now suddenly you're too much, too cold, too distant, too proud, too blunt, too guarded, too selfish, too hard to read. Funny, because when you were over-explaining yourself, over-giving, overthinking, over-apologizing, overextending, and basically cutting pieces off your own soul just to keep the peace, nobody called that too much. They called that sweet. They called that humble. They called that loyal. They called that love. No. Let's call it what it really was. It was convenience. You were easier to control when you doubted yourself. You were easier to control when you still believed being chosen mattered more than choosing yourself. You were easier to control when your heart was wide open and your boundaries were basically decorative. You were easier to control when guilt could move you faster than self-respect. You were easier to control when a disappointed tone, a cold text, a fake withdrawal, or a little emotional punishment could send you spiraling into panic mode, trying to fix what you didn't even break. That was the game. And the sick part, you didn't even know you were in one. You thought you were being a good person. You thought you were being mature. You thought patience would be appreciated. You thought loyalty would be returned. You thought if you just stayed loving enough, useful enough, understanding enough, forgiving enough, then eventually people would handle your heart with clean hands. But some people don't love clean. Some people love access. Some people love influence. Some people love knowing they can ruin your day with one sentence and restore your hope with half a compliment. Some people don't want your power. They want your permission to keep draining it. And the moment you stop giving that permission, they don't just get confused, they get mad. That's what you're seeing now. They're not mad because you changed. They're mad because their old tricks expired. They're mad because the code stopped working. They're mad because your silence doesn't chase anymore. Your kindness doesn't kneel anymore. Your empathy doesn't volunteer for abuse anymore. Your love doesn't come with self-betrayal anymore. That's why the energy changed. Because now when they test you, they hit a wall. Now when they poke you, they don't get the same reaction. Now when they disappear, you don't crumble. Now when they perform that fake distance to see if you'll panic, you don't run toward them with your dignity in a body bag. You just watch. And that terrifies people who built their confidence on your emotional availability. Let's be real. A lot of people never wanted the strongest version of you. They wanted the most manageable version of you. The one who was smart, but not too vocal. Beautiful, but still insecure. Talented, but still hesitant. Loving, but still easy to exploit. Aware, but still willing to play dumb so nobody felt threatened. That version of you made everybody comfortable. Because people love your light when it doesn't expose them. People love your kindness when it comes without standards. People love your patience when it means they never have to face consequences. People love your softness when it keeps you from saying enough. But the second your spirit grows teeth, the second your discernment wakes up, the second your standards stop being negotiable. Now they call you difficult. Good. Difficult people are harder to manipulate. Let that sink in. The version of you they miss was exhausted. The version of you they romanticize was tolerating disrespect in the name of understanding. The version of you they say was better was usually just more available to be used. And people will always mourn the access they lost, then disguise it as concern for your personality. That's why some of them say things like, "You've changed," as if that's an accusation, as if evolution is betrayal, as if healing is some kind of crime, as if becoming less reachable by nonsense means you lost your heart. No, you didn't lose your heart. You lost your addiction to being needed by people who never intended to protect you. That's different. And once you see that, once you really see it, something in you goes cold in the cleanest way possible. Not heartless, not bitter, just aware. There's a difference. See, awareness ruins a lot of fake relationships. Because fake relationships survive on your confusion. They survive on you ignoring patterns. They survive on you second-guessing your instincts. They survive on you rewriting reality every time somebody shows you exactly who they are. But once your mind clicks into place, once your nervous system stops translating disrespect into a challenge to be loved harder, once your loneliness stops being strong enough to override your self-respect, game over. Now they can feel you slipping out of reach. Now they can feel their emotional remote control disconnecting. Now they can feel that you're no longer standing in front of them asking, "What did I do wrong?" Now you're asking, "Why did I ever think that was normal?" That question changes everything, because that's the question people ask right before they leave toxic cycles. That's the question people ask right before they stop begging for closure from people who enjoyed confusing them. That's the question people ask right before they realize they were never too sensitive. They were under too much emotional manipulation. You were not asking for too much. You were asking the wrong people. You were not crazy. You were reading mixed signals from people who benefited from your uncertainty. You were not impossible to love. You were just surrounded by people who wanted the perks of your presence without the responsibility of your depth. That kind of realization doesn't make you softer. It makes you surgical. Now you pay attention to inconsistencies. Now you clock tone shifts. Now you notice when affection only appears after distance. Now you notice when somebody praises your growth publicly but privately resents your boundaries. Now you notice when somebody says they miss you, but what they really miss is unrestricted access to your emotional labor. And once you notice enough, your whole posture changes. Not because you're trying to be scary, not because you're trying to play some cold role, not because you want revenge, but because your soul got tired of bleeding just to prove it was real. That's where the change happened. It wasn't random, it wasn't overnight, it wasn't some cute little glow-up. It was pain, repeated pain, patterned pain, disguised pain, the kind that makes you question your worth, the kind that makes you replay conversations at 2 a.m., the kind that makes you wonder whether you're asking too much when all you wanted was honesty, effort, consistency, and a little emotional safety. And after enough of that, your spirit does something sacred. It stops negotiating with chaos. That's the shift. Now your no sounds complete. Now your absence doesn't come with an explanation. Now your energy has a lock on it. Now your peace is not available for group discussion. Now people who used to read you like an open book are staring at a closed cover. And they hate that. Because control needs predictability. Control needs your softness without your standards. Control needs your empathy without your boundaries. Control needs you worried about losing people. Control needs you afraid of being misunderstood. Control needs you to think protecting yourself is mean. So the moment you stop performing weakness for other people's comfort, they start acting like you became a villain. That's the oldest trick in the book. When they can't control you, they try to control how others see you. When they can't access you, they label you. When they can't guilt you, they misread you on purpose. When they can't reach your heart, they start whispering about your attitude. Let them. People who benefited from your lack of boundaries will always call boundaries disrespectful. Read that again in your spirit. People who had a free pass to your time, your patience, your forgiveness, your emotional bandwidth, your late-night energy, your softness, your attention, your explanations, your second chances, your constant understanding. Those people are not going to applaud when the gates close. Of course they're mad. You became expensive in a world that got used to having you for free. That's not arrogance, that's value. And maybe that's what really bothers them. Not that you changed, but that you finally saw your own price. See, there's something dangerous about a person who no longer needs to be liked to stay true to themselves. There's something powerful about a person who can feel loneliness and still not go back to disrespect. There's something deeply unsettling to manipulative people when your fear of losing them becomes smaller than your desire to stop losing yourself. That's when your energy shifts from begging to choosing, from chasing to observing, from proving to knowing, from hoping to seeing, from trying to be understood by everybody to understanding that not everybody deserves access to your inner world. That's growth, ugly growth, lonely growth, uncomfortable growth, the kind that doesn't always look inspiring when you're in it. Because growth like this costs. It costs old identities, it costs fake closeness, it costs the version of you that thought love meant endurance. It costs people who only knew how to connect with you through your wounds. It costs dynamics that looked familiar, but were secretly making you smaller. And that loss hits hard. Because even when the old version of you was suffering, it was known. It was familiar. It was your routine. Your nervous system knew how to survive there. Even pain can feel safe when it's predictable. So when you changed, don't act like it was easy. Don't disrespect your own transformation by shrinking it into a cute little quote. You fought for this. You fought in private. You fought against habits. You fought against trauma responses. You fought against the urge to explain yourself to people, committed to misunderstanding you. You fought against the version of you that still wanted to be chosen by people who never deserved front row seats in your life. You fought hard. That's why your new silence feels heavy. That's why your eye contact is different. That's why your energy doesn't spill everywhere anymore. That's why you don't laugh the same around fake vibes. That's why you can feel when somebody is trying to bait you back into a version of yourself you buried. Because you know what it cost to become this. And people who didn't help build this version of you don't get to complain about not having full access to it. That part matters. You do not owe your healed self to the same people who profited from your broken one. You do not owe endless softness to people who were only gentle when they feared losing you. You do not owe vulnerability on demand. You do not owe old access just because somebody has old history. History means nothing if the pattern stayed toxic. Some of you are still struggling with that because your heart is good. You still want to believe people mean well. You still want to give one more chance. You still want to imagine that this time they'll understand the pain they caused. Respect the boundary you set. Value the distance you created to survive. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But either way, your healing cannot depend on somebody else's level of self-awareness. That's the trap, waiting for people to become decent enough for you to finally feel safe. Waiting for an apology that sounds clean enough to reverse all the damage. Waiting for consistency from people who only ever mastered emotional convenience. No. Your power returns the moment you stop waiting for other people to become who they should have been. That's when you get dangerous, because now your peace doesn't depend on their clarity. Now your confidence doesn't depend on their validation. Now your self-worth doesn't rise and fall based on who texts back, who chooses you, who includes you, who praises you, who notices you. Now you notice you, and that is where their control dies. Do you understand how powerful that is? When a person can no longer be manipulated by praise, guilt, silence, nostalgia, inconsistency, jealousy games, mixed signals, or fake urgency, that person becomes nearly impossible to own. That's you now. Maybe not fully every day, maybe not perfectly. Maybe some nights your mind still revisits old wounds. Maybe some mornings you still feel that ache, that little pull toward what used to feel familiar. Maybe part of you still grieves the version of love, friendship, family, connection, or loyalty you thought you had. That's human. But don't confuse grief with weakness. And don't confuse missing what was familiar with needing it back. You can miss something and still know it was poison. You can love people and still know they are not healthy for your future. You can understand someone's pain and still refuse to let it become your prison. That is maturity at a savage level. Not the fake mature that smiles through disrespect. Not the fake mature that keeps forgiving because conflict feels scary. Not the fake mature that stays emotionally available to people who only show up when they're bored, lonely, threatened, or in need. Real maturity says, I see your wounds, but I will not let them become a weapon against me. Real maturity says, I understand why you are the way you are, but that understanding does not erase impact. Real maturity says, I can care about you and still remove access. Real maturity says, you do not get to keep touching my life with dirty hands just because I know you had a hard story. That's where you are. You got harder to control because you got closer to the truth. And the truth is this. A lot of people only respect boundaries they can't bend. A lot of people only value you after access is denied. A lot of people only call you powerful after they fail to manipulate you. A lot of people only start describing your worth accurately after they realize they can't reach you the way they used to. That's not love. That's reaction. Don't fall for it. Some people don't miss you. They miss their influence. Some people don't want connection. They want leverage. Some people don't want to understand your change. They want to reverse it. That's why they suddenly act nostalgic. That's why they suddenly bring up old memories. That's why they suddenly soften their tone the second they feel you emotionally detaching. That's why they suddenly act like they never meant it like that. That's why they suddenly become sweet when your back is already halfway turned. Because distance reveals value to people who were blind during access. But be careful. Delayed appreciation is not always transformation. Sometimes it's just panic. And panic can wear the same face as love, when somebody realizes the old version of you is not coming back. So what do you do now? You stop auditioning your boundaries. You stop announcing your healing to people committed to misunderstanding it. You stop trying to make your growth look gentle enough for unhealed people to digest. You stop explaining why basic respect matters. You stop handing out detailed roadmaps to your mind, your feelings, your next move, your inner world. You move different, calmer, cleaner, sharper. You let people feel your absence where they used to feel your availability. You let consequences introduce you where words failed. You let silence carry the message your over-explaining never could. You let your standards speak in rooms where your pain used to beg. That's when your life starts changing for real. Because the more you protect your energy, the more clearly you see. The more clearly you see, the less easily you're fooled. The less easily you're fooled, the less often you betray yourself trying to preserve fake peace. And the less you betray yourself, the stronger your whole presence becomes. That kind of strength doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to perform. It doesn't need to prove. It just is. It's in how quickly you notice a red flag now. It's in how fast your body reacts to fake energy. It's in how little tolerance you have for confusion marketed as connection. It's in how your soul now rejects what your old self used to chase. That's not bitterness. That's alignment. And yes, some people will leave when they realize the old handles are gone. Let them leave. Some relationships only survive when you are under-functioning in your own life. Some bonds only exist because you were over-giving. Some closeness only lasted because you had no standards around access. Let it collapse. Anything that requires your self-abandonment to survive deserves the funeral. And don't be afraid of being called cold by people who only loved your warmth when it was burning you alive. That label means nothing. You know what cold really is? Cold is letting somebody pour into you only when it benefits them, then disappear when you need consistency. Cold is watching someone bleed emotionally and using that as a map to control them. Cold is sensing somebody's heart and treating it like a vending machine. Cold is taking someone's loyalty, patience, softness, and forgiveness, then acting offended when they finally stop volunteering for pain. That's cold. Protecting yourself is not cold. It's overdue. You're not darker because you learned discernment. You're not harder because you finally stopped handing loaded weapons to people who already shot at your peace. You're not difficult because access now requires honesty. You're not arrogant because your energy is no longer available to everybody who asks. You just woke up. That's what they can't stand, because sleeping you was easier to guide. Sleeping you was easier to guilt. Sleeping you was easier to confuse. Sleeping you still believed everybody deserved the purest parts of you, just because they asked in a trembling voice, or showed up with temporary affection. Awake you watches patterns. Awake, you respects timing. Awake, you sees how some people only reach for you when your light starts glowing somewhere else. Awake, you sees how some people call your distance disrespectful while ignoring the disrespect that created the distance. Awake, you sees how often the villain story begins right after your boundaries begin. And now that you see it, don't unsee it just because clarity feels lonely for a minute. Lonely peace is still better than crowded manipulation. Read that deep in your bones. Lonely peace is still better than crowded manipulation, because crowded manipulation will have you surrounded and starving, praised and empty, chosen and unseen, included and unsafe, smiling and slowly disappearing from your own life. You've done that already. You know how that movie ends. So let them be mad. Let them misunderstand. Let them gossip. Let them say you switched up. Let them act shocked that the person they once moved so easily now looks at them with composure instead of panic. Let them choke on the fact that your healing made you less convenient. That's not your tragedy. That's their withdrawal. And every day you keep your standards. Every day you stop translating disrespect into a puzzle to solve. Every day you choose your peace over access, your discernment over nostalgia, your self-respect over being liked, your clarity over chaos. Good. You made it. Yeah, you. The one they whispered about. The one they tried to hex, curse, sabotage, bury, cancel, isolate, mentally break. And somehow you're still sitting here breathing like it's just another day. Let's talk about that. Because right now, they're shaking. You defeated a whole gang of witches like a one-man army, and you still don't even realize what you did. You know what's funny? They didn't come at you like villains in a movie. No pointy hats, no broomsticks, no neon sign that said, "Witch here." They came as friends who low-key hated you, family who didn't clap when you won, supporters who only support you as long as you stay below them, spiritual people who used God, energy, vibes, whatever word they liked, as a weapon, not a path. Little comments, little digs, little jokes that cut a little too deep. You weren't paranoid, you were surrounded. Let's call it what it is. Witchcraft isn't just candles and weird symbols. It's manipulation, it's control. It's people trying to bend your reality so you think less of yourself, so you don't move, so you don't grow, so you stay small, because your growth threatens their illusion of power. And you were the perfect target at first. You had a heart. You had empathy. You wanted peace. You wanted everyone to be okay. That's the funny thing about people like you. You show up with open hands, and they see open targets. Let me ask you something. How many times did you feel crazy for noticing the shift? You felt it when they stopped inviting you but kept posting. Your name came up in rooms you weren't in. People you never hurt suddenly went cold. Your success made the room go quiet instead of loud. You felt that pressure in your chest, that anxiety, that confusion like, did I do something wrong? Did I change? Am I the problem? That was the spell. Confusion is a spell. Self-doubt is a spell. The constant guilt they fed you, that was a spell. And every time you apologized for existing, you were bowing to their altar. But something snapped, didn't it? Not in one big dramatic movie moment. It was slow. A build-up. One fake smile too many. One betrayal too deep. One "I'm fine" too heavy. Then one day you just went, "Nah, I'm done." That was the moment the war shifted, because you didn't just move on. You broke formation. You stopped dancing to their little manipulation choreography. And that is when they realized, you're not a victim, you're a problem. You want to know why they're shaking right now? Because they threw everything at you that should have destroyed you. The character assassination, the lies, the gaslighting, the guilt trips, the smear campaigns in private group chats, the subtle spiritual attacks, praying against you, not for you, sending envy with a smile, and somehow, you're still rising, you're still evolving, you're still getting ideas, You're still getting opportunities that weren't even supposed to be yours. You were supposed to crumble. You were supposed to disappear. You were supposed to be sitting somewhere crying, feeling unworthy, stalking their page, wondering why you're not enough. Instead, you leveled up. Let's talk about that one-man army thing for a second. Because people hear that and think, you mean I fought everyone and won? No, it's deeper. Being a one-man army means you learned how to sit alone without losing your mind. You had conversations with yourself that were uglier than any argument. You started healing trauma instead of just reacting from it. You confronted your own toxic patterns instead of blaming everything on them. You went to war with your overthinking, your need for approval, your people-pleasing, your fear of abandonment, your addiction to fixing broken people, your obsession with being liked. You didn't just fight them, you fought you. And that is why they lost. See, a gang of witches is strong when you're weak inside. When you're insecure, their words control you. When you're desperate for love, their attention controls you. When you're scared to be alone, their presence controls you. They work like this. I don't need to chain your body. I just need to chain your mind. So they teach you to second-guess every decision, make you feel guilty for having boundaries, mock your dreams so you don't chase them, overreact when you pull away so you come running back. And then you did the impossible. You stopped caring about being liked more than being free. You started saying, no, I'm not comfortable with that. No, I don't have to explain myself. No, I'm not lowering my standards. No, I'm not ignoring how you made me feel. Witches hate boundaries. Manipulators hate when their favorite puppet has scissors. Let's be honest, walking away looked weak to them. They laughed. They said, oh, they're acting brand new now. They told people they changed. They're fake. They think they're better than everyone. Of course they said that. You stopped being their doormat. Suddenly you're arrogant. What they didn't realize was this. You weren't walking away in defeat. You were walking away in armor. There's power in silence. There's power in leaving group chats quietly. There's power in not clapping back, not posting subliminals, not arguing your innocence to people committed to misunderstanding you. You know how scary you are when you master silence. You know how dangerous you become when you stop trying to prove anything and just let your life speak. That's one-man army energy. No backup, no crowd. Just you, your mind, your spirit, your mission. Let us go deeper. Think about all the times you almost went back. You almost texted. You almost apologized for having boundaries. You almost downplayed your win to make them comfortable. You almost pretended you didn't see what you saw. That internal tug of war, that's spiritual warfare. Part of you knew, if I go back, I'll be safe, but I'll be dead inside. So you stayed away, even when it hurt. You stayed solid, even when you were lonely. You chose peace over familiarity. Do you understand how strong that makes you? Most people go back to their chains because the silence is too loud. But you sat with it. You sat with the emptiness. You sat with the confusion. You sat with the anger. And somewhere in the middle of all that sitting alone, your mind started to clear. You began to see the patterns. Wait, every time something good happens to me, that person distances themselves. Every time I set a boundary, that person plays the victim. Every time I show vulnerability, they use it later in an argument. Every time I talk about my dreams, they throw in a little negativity disguised as realism. Suddenly what felt like love looked a lot like control. You went from, "Why don't they love me?" to, "Why was I calling that love?" That's when the spell cracked. And once a spell cracks, it can't hold you the same way. You started doing scary things, blocking numbers without writing essays, muting people you secretly envied so you could heal instead of hate, saying no without a paragraph, leaving messages on read when they tried to bait you back into chaos. You started protecting your energy like your life depended on it, because it does, and they felt it. Suddenly they're confused. Why are they so distant? Why aren't they reacting? Why aren't they trying to fix things this time? Because you finally realized you're not a therapist. You're not a rehab center. You're not an emotional punching bag. You're not a charity case for broken people who refuse to change. You are the storm they pretended you weren't. Here's the truth they will never admit out loud. They didn't just want you small. They wanted you dependent. They wanted you to come to them for validation, run to them for advice, need them emotionally, financially, spiritually, look up to them like they were your savior. And then you started standing up on your own feet. You got stronger. You learned things. You made progress. You grew a spine, then a voice, then a standard. They got scared because suddenly you weren't asking, "What do you think of me?" You were asking, "What do I think of myself?" That's witchcraft's worst enemy, self-awareness. You didn't defeat a gang of witches by throwing spells back. You didn't need to light 300 candles, chant in 7 languages, or send hate. Your power wasn't in revenge. You beat them by doing the one thing they never expected. You healed. You forgave, not to let them back in, but so they couldn't live rent-free in your head. You did your shadow work. You faced your childhood wounds. You started noticing what triggers you and why. You turned your pain into data. You turned your tears into strategy. You turned your loneliness into self-discovery. And when you heal, the old hooks don't hook the same. They try the same tricks. Guilt, shame, silent treatment, jealousy games, third-party drama. And for the first time in your life, you feel nothing. No pull. No panic. No rush to fix it. Just clarity. That's why they're shaking, because the version of you they knew is gone. The version that over-explained, over-gave, overstayed, over-listened, over-loved people who under-respected you. You killed that version, slowly, painfully, intentionally, and in its place, you built someone terrifying, someone who can sit alone, someone who can lose people and not lose themselves. Someone who can walk away from the table when respect is no longer being served. Someone who chooses sanity over drama every single time. You know how hard it is to control someone like that. Exactly. Let's talk about power for a second. Real power is not loudness, flexing, revenge posts, subliminal quotes aimed at them. Real power is when you're so aligned, so anchored, so connected to who you are, that they lose access to your emotions. When they can't trigger you like before. When they can't predict your reactions. When they can't hook you into arguing. They start spiraling. If I can't control you, I have to destroy how people see you. So they start telling stories. They start painting you as the villain. They twist your silence into arrogance, your boundaries into selfishness, your growth into, they changed up. Let them talk. You didn't come here to win the public opinion poll. You came here to win your life back. Look at you. You're still worried you're too much or too cold now. You're not. You're just not allowing spiritual, emotional, or mental abuse to wear glitter anymore. You don't fall for, I was just joking. You're too sensitive. Why are you bringing up old stuff? You're crazy. That never happened. We're family. You're supposed to forgive. You remember what was said. You remember how it made you feel. You remember how they moved when you were at your lowest. Your memory is your shield now, not your burden. You're not bitter. You're aware. Understand this, you walking away wasn't just for you. You broke a pattern your bloodline couldn't. Who said, "It stops with me"? No more staying in toxic situations because that's just how it is. No more tolerating disrespect because that's just family. No more shrinking your dreams because we don't do that where I'm from. You broke generational witchcraft. The curses of low self-worth. The curses of settling. The curses of silence. You might not have a trophy for it, no applause, no parade, but somewhere down the line, a kid with your eyes, or your name, or your DNA is going to grow up in a reality you bled for. That's one-man army work. You think it was just heartbreak, just a falling out, just some messy drama. No. You survived psychological warfare. You survived spiritual warfare. You survived emotional warfare. And now, the battlefield is quiet. You don't have to keep fighting them. They already lost when you stopped playing. Now the war shifts inward again. But this time, you're equipped. Now the mission is, build the life they said you'd never have. Become the version of you they tried to suffocate. Turn your solitude into power, not punishment. Invest your energy into people, projects, and places that actually pour back. They thought isolating you would kill you. They didn't realize isolation was your training ground. So here you are. You, the one they ganged up on. You, the one they tried to spiritually sabotage. You, the one they thought would fold when they all pulled back at the same time. Instead, you became something they never planned for. Self-sustaining. You learned to motivate yourself. You learned to pick yourself up. You learned to become your own backup, your own hype, your own safety net. You went from, nobody's there for me, to, I'm there for me, and that's enough to rebuild. A gang of witches can't beat that, because they can't take what you no longer outsource. You don't outsource your worth. You don't outsource your peace. You don't outsource your purpose. That's why they're shaking. You know what scared them the most? Not your success, not your glow-up, not your new life. What scared them the most was that you saw them clearly and chose yourself anyway. You saw the manipulation. You saw the envy. You saw the fake love. You saw the little rituals of control in every guilt trip, every joke, every side-eye. And you didn't beg. You didn't crumble. You didn't chase. You walked with your back straight, your heart cracked, but your soul awake. They're not just scared of what you've done. They're terrified of what you're about to do, now that you finally understand who the hell you are. Because once you actually see yourself clearly, everything shifts, and that's the part that has their hands shaking and their voice cracking when your name comes up. You're not wandering around begging the world to tell you who you are anymore. You already know. You're the person who walked through emotional landmines, spiritual crossfire, mental breakdowns, fake love, real hate, silent attacks, loud disrespect. And instead of turning into a monster like them, you hardened up just enough to protect yourself and stayed human enough to still care. That balance right there is rare. There are people who went through half of what you went through and turned cold, turned bitter, turned heartless, turned into the very thing that hurt them. You didn't. You grew fangs, yeah. You grew armor, yeah. You built walls, yes, but you put doors in those walls, not prison bars. The witches wanted you to become like them, because if you turned dark in the same way, they could point and say, "See? They're no better than us." You refused that storyline. You chose healing over hatred, boundaries over revenge, self-respect over public approval, and that decision broke their entire little ecosystem of control. They built an identity around being above you. They needed you beneath them to feel tall. They needed your confusion to feel wise. They needed your insecurity to feel powerful. You outgrew the role they wrote for you, character development they never planned for. You went from being the easy target to the one person they cannot predict anymore. And unpredictable people are terrifying to manipulators. They can't bribe you with fake love. They can't scare you with abandonment. They can't silence you with shame. You already lost so much you thought you'd die, and you didn't. What exactly can they threaten you with now? That freedom right there is nuclear, because when you stop being scared of losing them, you start being willing to lose every single thing that isn't aligned with your sanity, your purpose, your peace. You weren't built to be a follower in somebody else's cult of insecurity. You were built to lead yourself. And when a person starts leading themselves, they automatically start leading their life out of places they never belonged in. That's why your phone looks different now. Old names gone, old conversations archived, old patterns broken. That's why your days feel different. Less chaos, less anxiety, less of that sick feeling in your stomach before you open a message. Your nervous system is realizing it doesn't have to live in fight or flight over people who claim to love you. You know what happens when your nervous system finally gets some peace? Your mind unlocks. Ideas start coming back. Dreams you buried start resurfacing. Energy returns. Ambition wakes up. You start remembering things you wanted long before they told you. Be realistic. There were dreams you shrink-wrapped because you didn't want to make them uncomfortable. There were goals you hid because you didn't want to deal with their jealousy. There were talents you downplayed because you didn't want to show off. You weren't humble. You were scared of outgrowing your cage. The gang of witches loved that. They loved the version of you that second-guessed every step, that ran every idea by them, that needed constant reassurance, that kept asking, "Is this okay? Am I doing too much?" That version of you was easy to manage. Take a second and really look at this. You were easier to control when you were lost. The moment you started figuring yourself out, they stopped vibing with you. That's not an accident. That's exposure. They didn't actually love you. They loved the benefit of being needed by you. You stopped needing them. Suddenly there's a problem. You're not colder. You're clearer. You're not heartless. You're selective. You're not arrogant. You're finally walking like someone who survived the worst and still chose to believe there's more to life than pain. There's a version of your life waiting that your old circle never would have allowed you to touch. Not because you weren't capable, because your upgrade would have exposed their refusal to grow. Every time you tried to level up, the sabotage kicked in. You'd say, "I'm gonna change this about my life." And they'd drop some discouragement. You'd say, "I feel like I'm meant for more." And they'd hit you with sarcasm. You'd share a win, and they'd go quiet, or switch the topic, or immediately one-up you. That wasn't random. That was energy witchcraft in real time. They weren't just hating silently. They were casting word spells into your self-esteem. Don't get ahead of yourself. People like us don't do that. You're being dramatic. You're too emotional. You always make everything about you. Every phrase like that was a leash. You snapped every single leash they ever tried to tighten around your throat. All right, listen up. My friend. Yeah, you. The one who has no idea how dangerous you actually are yet. Welcome to the part of your story where everybody thought they had you figured out. And then you did this shit. You know what's funny? They really believed you'd stay exactly where they left you. Same seat, same role, same script. They wrote you in as the background character in your own life, and then got together behind your back to discuss the limits of your potential, like they were on some kind of panel. They sat in group chats, in little secret calls, in rooms you weren't invited to, and they said things like, "They won't do anything. They're too soft. They'll never find out. Even if they do, what can they really do?" They built a whole universe of lies behind your back, and the punchline is that they never once considered the version of you I'm talking to right now. Because this version of you, oh, this version is a glitch in their little system. Let's break it down, because you need to really see what happened. You didn't just get betrayed. This wasn't some casual, "Oops, my bad." This was planned, structured, coordinated. They studied you. They took notes on your insecurities like they were prepping for an exam. They clocked your kindness and labeled it weakness. They watched the way you second-guess yourself and marked it leverage. They knew where you'd hesitate. They knew where you'd overthink. They knew you always try to see the good in people, so they weaponized that against you. You were never overreacting. Your gut wasn't lying. The energy was off because the intentions were off. They weren't busy. They weren't confused. They weren't bad at communicating. They were plotting. You ever notice how they only suddenly check on you when they need information? "Hey, how are you? You okay?" Nah, you don't care. You're just data mining. They needed updates. They needed to know if you were starting to catch on. They needed to track your emotional state like a stock price. If you were too confident, they'd subtly knock you down. If you were too happy, they'd remind you of something painful. If you had an idea, they'd laugh at it, then go copy it somewhere else. And behind your back, they sat there saying, "Don't worry, they'll forgive. They always come back. They won't leave. They need us." That's what they planned behind your back. To use you, to drain you, to stretch your loyalty until it snapped, and then blame you for breaking. But here's the twist they never saw coming. You found out, piece by piece, tone by tone, look by look, silence by silence. You started connecting dots. You started replaying conversations. You started noticing how you always ended up feeling smaller after dealing with certain people. You went back through screenshots. You remembered words. You remembered how they laughed when your name came up in the wrong room. You remembered the jokes that felt a little too sharp. And something inside you clicked. It wasn't rage at first. It wasn't revenge at first. It was this cold, calm, surgical kind of clarity. Oh, wow. So that's how it is. That's the moment the old you started dying. Quietly, internally, no fireworks, just a switch. This is what they planned behind your back. Then you did this shit. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped oversharing. You stopped sending long paragraphs trying to fix things with people who never planned to fix anything. You stopped volunteering the blueprint of your soul to architects who were only there to demolish. You pulled your energy back so hard, it felt like an exorcism. You started answering slower. You started saying no without writing an essay. You started looking at your phone and thinking, greater than, I actually don't owe you a damn thing. You didn't slash their tires. You didn't key their car. You did something way more violent. You took yourself out of their reach. You didn't burn their house down. You burned the bridge they used to walk into your life and rearranged the furniture. You know what really messed them up? You didn't make a dramatic announcement. No big public call out. No, attention everyone, I am now healing and cutting people off. Speech. You just changed your behavior. That's the scariest revenge in the world. Because now they don't know. Do they know what I said? Did someone show them the screenshots? Do they know I didn't defend them? Do they know I lied? That's it. You turned their own paranoia into your silent revenge. They planned to play you, but now they're the ones checking who viewed their story. They're the ones panicking every time you're quiet. They're the ones asking mutuals, greater than, have they said anything about me? Congratulations. They're stuck in the anxiety they wanted you drowning in. Let's get a little deeper, because this part is important. They didn't just plan to betray you. They planned for you to stay broken after they did it. That was the real strategy. The goal wasn't just to hurt you. It was to damage your self-perception so badly that even when they were gone, their voice would keep talking in your head. You know that one. The one that says, maybe I am too much. Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe nobody really stays. Maybe I'm hard to love. That voice isn't yours. That's them. That's every conversation, every eye roll, every backhanded comment, every time they shut you down when you tried to shine. They wanted to install a little version of themselves in your mind to keep you on a leash even after you walked away. And for a while, it worked, didn't it? You begged for closure. You replayed everything 1,000 times. You stalked their pages. You compared yourself. You cried silently at night. You wondered why you weren't enough. For people who were never even qualified to stand next to you. But then, you did this shit. You realized their rejection was not an evaluation of your worth. It was a confession of their capacity. They didn't walk away because you were too broken. They walked away because you were too real, too aware, too big for the tiny little world they feel safe controlling. At some point you stopped asking, why did they do this to me? And you started asking, why did I tolerate it for so long? That's when everything got dangerous. For them. Because now you're not focused on their story. You're dissecting your own patterns. You're looking at your childhood. You're looking at what you were taught about love. You're looking at why you keep giving people discounts who never even pay full price for basic respect. You're realizing, greater than I was trained to doubt myself. Greater than I was taught to be grateful for crumbs. Greater than I was conditioned to see my own needs as too much. And once you see that, you cannot unsee it. This is what they planned behind your back. You get hurt, you get confused, you chase them, you apologize, you dim your light, lower your standards, accept the bare minimum, and call it love, friendship, or loyalty. Then they keep access to your energy, your attention, your time, your resources, without ever having to face themselves. But instead, you did this. You finally chose you. Not the soft, performative, self-love, quote-posting version. The real version, the ugly one. The one where you cry while blocking numbers. The one where your hands shake when you say no. The one where you sit in your room and feel completely alone because you just cut off the poison you were addicted to. The version where healing doesn't look cute yet. It looks like withdrawal. People don't talk about that part. They talk about glowing up like it's instant. No. You glowed up after you sat in the dark and realized, I would rather be alone than surrounded by people who secretly want to see me lose. Here's the thing nobody wants to admit. You scared them the moment you stopped reacting. Your silence, lethal. Your distance, lethal. Your lack of access, lethal. You stopped giving them content. No more emotional breakdowns on call. No more info dumps they can forward. No more secrets. No more, I trust you more than anyone. No more backstage pass to your soul. You didn't just block them digitally. You blocked them spiritually, emotionally, mentally. You built a firewall around your peace, and now they're standing outside like greater than they changed. Good. That was the point. Let's talk about the upgrade, because that's the part everyone sees and calls luck. You took all that pain, and you did not bury it. You recycled it. You joined the gym, or you started a business, or you went back to school, or you focused on your craft, or you started therapy, or you finally launched that page, or you started reading, studying, leveling up. Maybe you didn't do anything dramatic on the outside, but inside, you started rewiring. You started replacing I'm too much with I'm not for everyone. You replaced why don't they like me with do I even like them? You replaced I hope they don't leave with if you can leave that easily, please do. You replaced I'll prove my worth with if you can't see it, that's your limitation. And slowly, the version of you that needed their approval started dying. That's the funeral they'll never attend, but they'll feel the consequences. Now let's be very clear. This is not about acting unbothered. This is about being done. There's a difference. Unbothered is an act. Done is a decision. You're not pretending it didn't hurt. You're not pretending you didn't cry. You're not pretending it didn't break something inside you. It did. But then you took the broken pieces, and instead of begging them to fix you, you learned how to use those pieces as weapons. Not against them, against your own old patterns. You started slicing through excuses. You started cutting off cycles. You started stabbing every lie you ever believed about yourself. You became your own bodyguard. And now we're here. People are noticing the shift. They can't quite explain it. You look the same, but you don't feel the same. Your eyes, sharper. Your boundaries, colder. Your energy, priceless. You're not easily impressed anymore. Someone being nice is no longer enough. Effort is the minimum. Consistency is the standard. Respect is non-negotiable. You're no longer starving for validation, so you're not eating every compliment like it's your last meal. You're not obsessed with being liked. You're focused on being aligned. You're not begging to be in rooms. You are the room. You're not chasing. You're attracting. Because you finally stopped shrinking to fit into spaces that were never built for your full size. And somewhere out there, in one of those little circles, in one of those private chats, your name still comes up. Oh, they're different now. They're acting brand new. They changed after that whole situation. They think they're better than everyone. Of course, you changed. What do they think growth looks like? You were supposed to turn into this. You were supposed to become someone that the old you would be proud of, and the old them would be terrified of. You're not better than anyone. You're just no longer willing to be worse for anyone. The most savage part of all this, you didn't seek revenge. You became it. Your peace is revenge. Your success is revenge. Your healing is revenge. Your self-respect is revenge. Your refusal to entertain the same chaos is revenge. They expected you to stay broken. They expected you to post sad quotes for months. They expected you to chase. They expected you to keep defending them when people asked, "What happened?" Instead, you shrug and say, "I outgrew it." Do you understand how brutal that is? You didn't label them as your villain. You didn't give them that importance. You just filed them under, no longer relevant to the plot. Remember the title of your little episode here. This is what they planned behind your back. Then you did this shit. This shit is not one moment. It's not one clapback. It's not one post. It's not one conversation. This shit is a collection of choices. You chose to stop explaining your worth. You chose to listen to your gut the first time. You chose to cut off access quietly. You chose to let people misunderstand you instead of begging to be seen correctly. You chose to invest in yourself like you used to invest in people who wouldn't even show up for you. You chose to turn your pain into fuel instead of chains. They planned for you to stay small. You chose to become a problem. So here you are now, on the other side of a betrayal that was supposed to break you. Still standing, still breathing, more aware, more dangerous, more intentional. You're not paranoid, you're wise. You're not cold, you're guarded. You're not bitter. You're just done negotiating your value with people who paid in disrespect. They thought they were writing your ending. They were just writing your origin story. And the best part, they haven't even seen what you do next. Because that's the thing most people miss. They really think the story ends when the hurt happens. They picture you folded up on the floor, right? Checking their page, replaying their words, stalking who they're with, all that obsessive, spiraling, late-night overthinking energy trapped in a loop around them. What they never once pictured is you sitting there in that same darkness, eyes swollen, chest tight, hands shaking. And instead of texting them, you open a notebook, you open your bank app, you open a course, you open a plan. You don't announce it, you don't post it, you don't send a threat. You just quietly decide, greater than I'm done being the one who loses every time someone can't handle me. That single thought, terrifying. Because when you shift from, I hope they regret losing me, to, I'm not losing me over them, you change the entire power dynamic of your life. Think about your day-to-day now. You wake up different. The first few days it hurts. Yeah, that ache doesn't disappear just because you got empowered. You still wake up with that little hollow in your chest. You still get random waves where your brain goes, greater than check if they texted, greater than check their story, greater than check if they moved on, and you catch yourself reaching for your phone on autopilot, like a reflex, but you stop halfway. That tiny moment where your hand hovers and then drops. That's you rewiring your entire nervous system. That's you telling your brain, we don't feed that addiction anymore. And it feels weird, uncomfortable, empty, honestly. You used to get a hit of dopamine from stalking their life, from decoding their posts, from watching who they subtweeted. Now there's just silence. And in that silence, this little voice shows up. What if we used this energy on us for once? You start doing little things that look insignificant from the outside, but are actually massive rebellions. You drink more water. You take a walk instead of scrolling through their feed. You unfollow a couple of accounts that keep you stuck in comparison. You delete a long draft message you were never supposed to send anyway. You start cleaning your space. You throw out old stuff that feels tied to them. That hoodie, that playlist, those screenshots. You're not erasing the memory. You're reclaiming the environment. Every drawer you clear out, every chat you archive, every picture you move is like tulling your subconscious. We're not living in a museum of old pain anymore. Your circle changes too. People can feel you leveling up without you saying a word. Old friends who only liked you better when you were miserable start getting uncomfortable. The ones who liked having broken you around because it made them look wise or stable or put together don't know what to do with the version of you who's actually getting grounded now. They liked you confused. They liked you apologizing. They liked you venting while they stayed neutral and non-committal. You notice the ones who never really defend you, by the way. That's another realization. The ones who sit in rooms while other people talk about you, and then come back to you acting like they're above drama. You start clocking that passivity as complicity. You stop confusing their silence with peace. That changes how you move. You stop inviting everyone into your raw moments. You stop trauma dumping into spaces that don't hold you. You stop trusting people just because they've known you a long time. Longevity and loyalty are not the same thing, and it finally clicks. You get sharper with time. A new person comes around, right? They're charming. They say the right things. They tell you they're not like the rest. They mirror your pain, your story, your fears. Old, you would have handed them the keys right then and there. Wow, you get me. No one ever gets me like this. This version of you. You take a step back. You watch how they act when you say no. You watch how they respond when you set a boundary. You watch how they handle not having instant access to your entire life. You don't just listen to what they say about other people. You watch how they say it. Are they always the victim in every story? Does every ex become crazy in their mouth? Do they hate drama while constantly being in the center of it? You're not paranoid for noticing that. You're paying attention. Your standards are no longer negotiable. Your heart is no longer a free trial. There's a version of them that exists only in your head. This idealized, polished fantasy version. You remember their best moment and loop it like a highlight reel until you forget there were entire months where you felt unchosen, unseen, or second place. At some point in this process, that reel breaks. You have a day where you're just sitting there, maybe in the shower, maybe on the bus, half distracted, and suddenly your brain pulls up a memory you'd glossed over before. The way they looked at their phone and smiled right after you poured your heart out. The way they went quiet when you asked a simple question. The way their tone changed when other people walked in. The way they always had an excuse ready, like they'd rehearsed it. And instead of romanticizing it this time, you actually see it for what it was. Not mysterious, disrespectful, not confused, calculated, not emotionally unavailable, emotionally irresponsible. You finally stop putting pretty language on ugly behavior. This is where the empowerment stops being aesthetic and starts being real. You're not just listening to motivational content. getting hyped for 10 minutes, then going right back to the same pattern. You're actively reprogramming. You catch yourself mid-thought. What if they never come back? And something inside you answers. What if they do and you don't even want them anymore? That flips the script. You stop living in this fantasy where the grand prize is them crawling back, apologizing, crying, saying, "You were right, and you were the best thing that ever happened to me." You start realizing the grand prize might actually be you, not even being emotionally available to accept them back. Not out of spite, out of evolution.